This is the second interview with the person out of my country. In this case, I'm with Steven Alvarado, an American that lives in Los Angeles, California, and he's going to help me to develop and increase my point of view on the global issue I selected, that is poverty reduction. Okay, Steven, what is your perspective on poverty reduction and how did you acquire this perspective?
Hi, Claudio. Great question. My perspective on poverty reduction. Well, in Los Angeles, poverty and homelessness is a big issue. We say $1 million question that we don't have the answer to. During the pandemic, it got especially worse when people lost their jobs. Here in Los Angeles, the cost of living is very, very high. A one bedroom or even a studio apartment, you're looking at $1,600 a month in rent. That's no rooms. That's just like a little living room and a bathroom and maybe a kitchen sink. Um, so poverty and homelessness is a big issue. In my perspective on it is something that needs to be addressed, something that needs to be maybe some policies to help people out of poverty, out of homelessness, and so that they can move forward and prosper in life.
Okay, Steven, thank you so much. And now, which aspects of your cultural identity can you relate to this issue?
As a Latino, Mexicano, from my parents living here in Los Angeles, I see a lot of immigrants coming from Mexico, a lot of Latinos in general, and there's a homelessness in downtown LA. Living on the streets, you drive through LA and there's streets, tents on the sidewalks. I'm not saying like 2 or 3 or 5 or 10. There's hundreds of tents on the streets in downtown LA where people go to work, in parks and neighborhoods, people living in benches. As my cultural identity and seeing it from that perspective is some of them, they fall into hard times and they need help, and we need to help them.
Okay. And now, what is the impact of poverty on your personal life?
Impact of poverty. I work in a nonprofit organization, so I do work with a lot of people that are in poverty. We help them find resources that can help them either through medical, housing assistance, um, daycare, finding jobs. So in that aspect, it's giving me opportunity for work. And a more personal level, when you're driving through downtown to go to a restaurant, there's homeless people everywhere. And when I'm going to a neighborhood in Hollywood to go eat at a fancy restaurant, and right 2 steps outside the restaurant, there's a homeless person, there's a tent, just the safety. Am I going to get attacked? Am I they're going to get robbed, especially at 2 o'clock in the morning? That it's not likely, but it does, it's in the back of your mind. Before, homelessness was mostly concentrated in downtown LA. I still live in LA County, but I don't live in LA City. And homelessness is now coming out into the suburbs. So at night, when I go for a walk and I take my dog out for a walk, where used to be a quiet neighborhood, a clean neighborhood, there's homeless people at parks, and they come up to you and they want money, and it's late at night. I don't know their intentions. I have to protect ourselves and then protect the neighbor, and think about just when they're walking around at night in the neighborhood, like, what's their intentions? Are they looking to steal something? Are they cars have been broken into? So it has affected me in that aspect.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, what are the beliefs about the issue in your peer group, family, and community?
That's a really complicated question to answer. There's multiple factors to it. Um, an example I can give is Venice Beach. Venice Beach is a very popular beach here in LA. It's a tourist destination. and during the pandemic, where people go and they have restaurants, they have shops, and there's street performers, and it's very family oriented. There's very famous for basketball. People go there and play basketball from all over the world. Sometimes um, professional basketball athletes will show up at the basketball court on the beach, and they start playing basketball with regular people. During the pandemic, um, when people weren't out to go outside, homeless people came in and they took over the beach. There was homeless people everywhere, just tents. You couldn't even see the ocean because there were so many tents on the beach. When they would describe when people would go down there, it smelled like urine and feces, and there'd be trash everywhere. You know, as a I understand that they have nowhere to go, but making the mess at a beach and making peeing everywhere and just and then or to make it, it's not something that I would want to go to. So the city or the mayor of Los Angeles made the executive decision to have the police and take everybody out of the beach. They kicked every homeless person that was there. They destroyed the tent, and they just picked up their tents, their homes, and they threw it away. And then they cleaned it up and washed it, and they cleaned it up. So, and then advocates came and they protested. Where do you want them to go? They have nowhere to go. They need housing. You need to solve the housing issue in Los Angeles. So I see it from that point of view, where the housing in LA is incredibly expensive. But then I also see, like, as a tourist or as a place where I want to go, like I don't want to go to Venice Beach and see homeless people and then come up to you and like, oh, money, food, like, especially as for, like I said, it's so expensive to live here. And I'm working, like, some people just don't want to work because they don't want to work. It's been very reported on the news that, like, they would interview homeless people and they're like, I just don't want to work. I don't want to work. I'm like, well, they just want free stuff. So, like, and understand that's not every homeless person, or people living in poverty just fall on hard times and they need that assistance. They need that assistance to get over the hump, to get back on their feet. But how do you know who needs that assistance and who's just abusing the system?
Okay, thank you so much for that.
I'm sure that answered that question.
Thank you. Now, how do you think these groups acquire this perspective or beliefs?
These groups, can you give me a little bit more information? What do you mean by these groups? Like advocates, the homeless people trying to help them?
Yes, how do you think the homeless people got that perspective from the other normal people? How can you compare them?
Compare the two groups?
Yes.
Comparing homelessness and or the low income.
Or well, it's more like how did you and the group or the family or your community took this perspective about the homeless people?
Okay, I see. I think that's a question that every person has their own perspective to. And some people advocate for homeless people, or for the homelessness. Some people see them as have them get a job. Um, it's I'm in the toss up. Like I see, like I wouldn't want a tent or somebody living on the street right in front of my house. So I see from there. But then I drive downtown LA, or in the city, and I see him, and then it's like I want to help them. Here's some money. Here's some food. How do they come? How does each person come up with their own ideology or their mind frame on that? It has to do with their own frame of mind, I guess, their own perspective on how they see it. Some people see it as a burden. Some people like just get them out, just kick them out, pick them all up, and dump them. Who knows? Somewhere not here. Those are one group of people. You have the second group of people that want to help them, like they need help. We need to build cheaper housing. We need to create more policies to help them get back on their feet. And then you have another third a group of people, I think they're teeter-tottering, like they want to help them, but if they see a tent that pitches up right, a block away from their home, they're like, oh no, let's get them out of here. I don't want them here. So I think it has its own, it depends on each person and their situation.
Okay, I
For
understand.
me, I think I'm like in the middle. I want to help them. I understand that there's people that need the assistance, that are just falling hard times. But again, I don't want to see a tent outside my house.
Okay, thank you so much. And to finish with this part, how do you think poverty reduction is present in Mexico?
I'm honestly not too sure. I don't know. I know that poverty is an issue in Mexico. Other than that, I'm not too familiar. Um,
Okay, thank you. Don't worry. So now I'm going to show you three different cultural expressions, and first I'm going to say what do they represent to me, and then if you please tell me what do they mean to you.
okay.
Okay. So here it is. Okay. Well, this first cultural expression is from Mexico and is a very famous type of art here in the urban area. It's a graffiti with the message "No more corruption" and with a fist closed. This painting for me represents how the Mexicans are tired of having a bad government and how the situation has not changed. There are a lot of politicians that steal money from the village, and here in Mexico there is a lot of poverty, such as people not having home or something to eat.
I agree with you. I can see that, I know the Mexican government has a lot of corruption. I see if I were a citizen that was living in a corrupt government, I would have the same um, feelings toward it, like no more, that's it, no more corruption. And let's get rid of this government and bring in new politicians. And that's what a democracy is, right? We vote for our politicians, we vote them into government. And then when they have terms, they have 2-year terms, 4-year terms. You can also recall them. So I can relate to that.
Okay, thank you. Now this is the second cultural expression that it's also graffiti or a painting in Miami. There is a man holding a poster with the message of respect human values and next to him another one with a poster saying hungry help. For me this represents that even though the United States is a world power, this does not deprive them of having poverty. Miami, I believe, is a very touristic city, but also this city has a poverty rate of 19.8%, and this is way higher than the national average. Something also related to this could be the racism, because as we know, there have been recent events on racism in the US, and in the painting the man looks like an Afro-American person, and I'm not saying that Miami is racist, but I can confirm that poverty is related with racism.
No, you're absolutely right. There's social determinants affect ethnicity and races unequally compared to white counterparts. It's been shown that people of ethnic minority live in neighborhoods that are deprived of, we call them desert zones, for like dental desert zones or medical desert zones. So that means there isn't that many clinics for hospitals. There isn't that many grocery stores. So people don't have access to foods that are have nutrients. So they don't they can't go buy groceries, they can't buy fruits and vegetables. This image is an example of that. We want to respect human values, but yet we kind of shun our eye when they're not present. We want to help them and give them food, but after we give, people give them food, they're like kind of like unseen. They're not there. And we need to change that. We need to change, and we need to make policy changes. I always think policy changes in a good way, especially to reduce poverty, to reduce in poverty neighborhoods, and homelessness, and all that aspect. It's a very sensitive, not a sensitive issue, but it's a question that you can open a can of worms and dive into it, and I can talk for it about hours and hours. So there's so much wrong in neighborhoods. You look, there isn't that many parks. If you go into low-income neighborhoods, something that has people being able to go outside and play soccer, play basketball, they don't have parks. And if they do have parks, is it safe? Is it safe for the kids to go out in the parks late at night? And the answer most likely is no. They're also located near major highways, major freeways. So that means there are a lot of pollution. I did mention, there isn't that many grocery stores. There's more fast food restaurants in the low-income neighborhoods than there is grocery stores. That means that kids and families are eating more fast food because a hamburger that's 99 cents is a lot cheaper than going to the grocery store and buying a pound or a kilo of apples, for example. And I know that may be $1.99 a pound. So that $1 hamburger can feed your family, you can feed a family of four for $4, where you can, you're gonna spend $2 on a pound of apples, and you still got to go home and prepare that meal. So it's not just buying one item. So people are buying more fast food, which are higher in fats, higher refined sugar, and refined carbohydrates. And like I said, I can just go on, and I think this is a perfect example of that.
Okay, Steven, thank you so much for that. Okay, now give me a second. I need to prepare the video for the third cultural expression.
Hay represión con la juventud. Cuba es de los cubanos. Cuba es de los cubanos. Patria y vida. Patria y vida. Dime, libertad, esto es patria y vida. Libertad, acabó esto.
Lo está ahogando, Revilla. Lo está ahogando.
Well, this third cultural expression is a manifestation of the Cuban people fighting for their freedom and for a better life. For me, this movement represents how some countries in the world are suffering a lot for the type of government they have. Cuba is a socialist republic, and this means that all the power falls on the president, and all the decisions are made by him. As I saw in the news, if you have your own vegetable patch in your house because you want to have more food or more money, it will be taken by the government and you will be fined. This is a situation that has no more than 1 year, but that I hope in the future can disappear.
Yeah, it's a powerful video. People living in a socialistic economy or country don't have that much freedom. Makes you think how much we take for granted living in a democratic country, where we do have the right to grow, like you said, our own food in our backyard if we like. And the Cubans seems like their citizens are almost in the steps of a revolution to overthrow the president and socialistic government and bring in a democratic election.
Thank you. Well, Steven, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate all the things that you told me because now I can saw and have a different perspective of the global issue, in this case with Ukraine. This helped me a lot to understand the problem in another way and to expand my ideas with all the things that you told me from the perspective you have working or living in Los Angeles, and thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.